Michael, tomorrow is the release of your new studio album, Helloween.
Yes,
Congratulations.
yes, thank you. And we're very proud of it because it was like long and hard work, but it paid out, and it's like really, really good and something to be very proud of. It's magic.
6 years.
Time flies. When people tell me the God-given right is like 6 years ago, yes, but that's what happens in between, all this reconfiguration with the seven guys, and we had five rehearsal segments in order to be ready to play the 3 hours show from then on, and then we started in Mexico City,
Mm-hmm.
and that was crazy where I caught like a real bad flu, that kept going at least 1.5 months. And I just didn't know how to deal with that, but we just went on and on and on. And the flu wouldn't go away, right? Horrible. But we had to play all these shows, and it was getting more and more successful. And in between, we had to do the Pumpkins United recording
Mm-hmm.
of that little single, right? And then we had to rehearse that too. And we had no brain capacity left. We couldn't do that for like the first leg of the tour, and then there was a little break, and we somehow rehearsed that thing for the second bit. And then it went on till the Weikath to be the headliner there in front of 200,000 whatever do I know people. You can see it on YouTube in stereo and color and high definition and everything. And then it went on to take biblical proportions, because then we went to Rock in Rio
Mm-hmm.
and played there, and that's like
Wow.
the last thing we've done so far.
Wow. You know, Michael,
And I'm also pretty sure there were lots of Peruvian people in Rio as well.
oh yeah, definitely. You know, I moved from Lima like 6 years ago, and now I live in Canada,
Yeah, where?
In Ontario.
Ontario, all right.
Yeah, in Ontario, and well, I have a radio show here, and it was amazing because the fans had the same feeling than in South America for Halloween.
It's either that, or maybe there's like a religious aspect about the whole thing, or something, or
Yes.
like a regular nerd understanding of some hippie kind, and like a mix of everything. So it's like similar characters who get touched by the stuff we do. Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, right, Michael. In my opinion, this record represents a dream come true for the Halloween fans because
Yeah,
we have here the unification of, Kay, Andy, and Michael.
Yeah.
My question is, what this record represents to you?
Well, it's also like kind of a dream come true, but it's also a dream continuing. If we wouldn't have had like that COVID situation, then we would have already finished like the first few parts of a tour that would have started last year in September, right? And but still, we called it Helloween because we're the seven guys, and we really had such a good time together, and with the fans.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a magical thing, right? Or maybe it was even a divine thing, because like when we were playing there, and the first 3 or 5 rows of fans, they were crying, right? And people
Mhm.
told me like, I was standing there, I was watching the show, and I couldn't resist. Suddenly I had to cry like a baby. I don't know what happened, and the same thing happened to us when we saw that,
Mhm.
right? And so there's something going on there, something important. It's also when Michael Kiske came from the stage, because like he had a little break, and I had to walk out to my next part. He came, and like patted my shoulder, and he was, man, that's amazing, that's important what we're doing here. This is something very important.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, yeah, I agree. And so we went out and did our thing, and everybody was happy, And this is like there's something very special to a higher degree.
Okay. Where did you record
for
it?
everyone involved, right? And so it's a dream come true for me. It's like if not for the COVID trouble that there is, I would wake up every day and what I said in a few interviews before is like usually you wake up and you're in the reality, and I wake up and I'm in some crazy dream, right? But a good dream.
Wow.
Where all these things are possible, at least, right? And other things are not, that had to kind of, fuck it up.
Wow.
Otherwise, we would be in a super great situation. We can do basically whatever we wish. And we succeeded in doing that amazing record, right? Because that could have also been going horribly wrong. Because it was
yes, it's
work,
true.
and you can also fuck up an album production, right? And no, it's amazing. It sounds great. It's got magic. And it's a dream come true for many fans, right? And
yes,
us.
there's great songs. For example, one of my favorite songs is Robot King. The riffs are amazing in that song. It's amazing. The singers are great, but Robot King is one of my favorites. I have the record, and it's one of my favorites.
Wow.
It's amazing. The riff, Michael, the riffs are monumental.
I'm proud of it. I'm always imagining, the young guitarists in the rehearsal room, that take maybe their, what do I take? I have a Washburn, I have a Ibanez, I have a, that's the Les Paul, right? I try this Les Paul and I see like how the riff goes, right? What did that asshole Weikath come up there with? Like, how do I play it, right? I'm imagining the young guitarist trying to play it. Right, and then go like, okay, but the verse is different. What did he do different than the chorus? And in the last chorus, there's the taka 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 down. Okay, I imagined it.
Wow. Yeah. Do you consider that this pandemic helped? Well, it was a disaster, the pandemic, but in a way, helps in the inspiration.
We finished the majority of the work before lockdown struck and before anything happened. So we had songwriting after the tour in the few months before New Year's Eve. And I started in February. So I've been collecting ideas in my head to combine for 5 tracks or 4 tracks or 3 tracks. And then in the end, it was those 3 that I've done. Doing another one would have taken another month or 2. And that's actually when we already had the time to meet at a hotel in Hamburg, where we would play all that stuff to each other that we had. Mm-hmm. And that was mid of April 2019. And so back then we already had everything except for the Skyfall. The Skyfall was conceived until November, December of 2019. And then we started recording, and the whole stuff went off in around March. And by then we already had most of the stuff recorded. And then after lockdowns went, we could still take a taxi and go to the studio and work-related things you were permitted to do over the day and early night. And one night I had to stay at the studio because the police wouldn't admit the taxi driver through to pick me up and bring me home, so I had to stay at the studio overnight once. So we went back home earlier the other nights afterwards, and we still had some rhythm guitars, some melody guitars, some solo guitars, we had arrangements, we had keyboards, we had choirs, we had Michael Kiske, demo melody recording, so we knew where he was, scratch recording with the Dennis Ward. Mm-hmm. And the Dennis Ward then had to leave for rehearsals with Magnum, because he's the bass player of Magnum now. And then the Michael Kiske started recording lots of vocals with the Charlie here in Tenerife. While I stayed home, I had a break, and then we did other additional things afterwards during the COVID.
Tenerife.
Yes.
Okay, in Spanish.
Michael Kiske was here, and we did all the stuff here together for some time. Also, when we went to the studio, I would usually pick him up at his hotel with the taxi.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is the second time you recorded in Spain. The last studio album you recorded there too.
Yeah, we've actually done that like lots of times before, but then, the Kai Hansen was sitting in the studio in Hamburg with a
Mm-hmm.
guy called Eike, who also did his Triple X album. Marcus was recording with Dennis Ward at another studio close by, or the same
Mm-hmm.
studio, I don't even know, or his own one. Or they sat together at yet another studio really close to the home studio in another building right next to it. That's where they recorded the bass and sent the data to the Charlie, who was recording with Sasha in South Germany in the
Mm-hmm.
studio in Fürth.
Wow.
The town is called Fürth. And they were also profiling tube amplifiers and other amplifiers to be used in the production. And they sent their material that they finished to the Kai Hansen so he could put his stuff on it. And then eventually, after everything was collected, the Charlie Baufein came here to Tenerife, and we
Okay.
did the guitar recordings and other stuff that was there. And the Michael Kiske was here too, because he was spending time with the Darius, and they were thinking about like who sings what where.
Oh, okay,
And
okay.
then there was scratch recording of this goes like this, and the next part think about this because there the vocals were different. And there's another thing to consider over there. So it was just recording scratch things. So for memorizing what to do where. And
Wow.
that all took place here in Tenerife again. And we've done albums here ever since the Dark Ride.
Wow. Wow. Okay, okay. Michael, if you could choose one of your studio albums as the most significant influence of this new record, what album would you choose and why?
That's no, I mean we were thinking about going back to 80s in a way, yes,
Yes, yes,
because
yes.
of recording equipment and effects. We also used like that Eventide multi-processor effect thing for almost everything, just to get that connection to 80s. And we recorded the drums on 24-track analog tape,
24. Wow.
which is also taking some time, editing things and whatever, but you get that punch for the drums. And so we didn't talk about it, but it was kind of clear, that we would try to continue from where we stopped at the Keeper 2 possibly, right? But there's also so much Darius stuff on this record, that connects directly with all the albums we have done in the meantime, right? And also the God-Given Right was sounding so round and analog already in comparison to what we've put out before. Like the other CDs were also great sounding stuff, but they were made digitally and whatever. And then God-Given Right was round and warm like the Keeper One,
Hmm.
right? And we just thought, I mean, coming up with demos and ideas for new stuff, that was automatically that we thought, hey, we are continuing there. And we also had the inside joke because our manager liked the firepower of the Judas Priest so much, and he was raving about it all the time. And we said, oh, when we have to do another album, we're just going to do another Priest record, ha ha, right? And I've also told that in a few interviews, and I try to keep that spirit a little bit, because I think it's
Spirit.
compatible sometimes. Judas Priest music and Helloween music is sometimes compatible.
Oh, yeah.
So I just wanted to keep going where we stopped in the 80s and beef it up some as well. Make it more cult, make it more. This is the opportunity because you have all those super great singers, so you can create impacts. They can all sing high, and so I was interested in coming up with like classic parts that will be remembered.
Hmm.
Kind of like when you heard "Child in Time" for the first time, or when you heard "Exciter" of Judas Priest, or what. I thought you got to create some of these kind of parts that people will remember,
Hmm.
or like the Robot King, right? Where you go and that was that in 2021, right? Yeah, it was great when it came out or what, no? So that's what I wanted to have
Absolutely.
somehow, and
Yes, in my
in that time. Or,
opinion, this record has a little of the spirit of every album of Halloween, since
yeah,
Walls
kind of.
until Gath, you know, from Walls until
Yeah,
Gath.
it's like a culmination of things.
Exactly. You're a fan of Halloween. You can feel, you can hear, you can listen to every part of the history of Halloween, and with the three voices. Oh my God, that's awesome.
What I like to say all the time, it's kind of like a family photo album. So like each and other record that's been done is kind of like a photo album in itself. And right now we have a collection there, like what we did with the Hell book and all the memories that came together and whatever while doing it. Then also this, as you say, has like a bit of everything. And this is like the culmination, right? The pinnacle of what's possible for now.
Right.
And it sounds amazing. It's got the
Oh,
magic.
yes, it's true. And the cover art is really good. I love the cover art.
Thank God.
Very welcome.
Thank God.
Michael.
Oh,
Michael, with all of your experience for 4 decades, okay? With all your experience, if you could change anything in the music business, what would it be?
oh well, I would try to change everything back to more human, right? Less plastic. Because there's lots of productions nowadays that are, without a
Software?
soul, like without a heart. They are just structures, being painted there like by computer grids and stuff.
Software,
And
pure software.
yeah, well, it does work because like people don't mind, right? Or sometimes you just have a
Yes.
beat, and I must tell you, I have not a lot against rave music or DJs when they combine things like this. That's also some kind of art, but it's taking away the personality from the music, and I think that's what certain powers in this world want to achieve, right? To depersonalize music and to decrease the quality of the sound more and more so that you don't have a heartfelt feeling with it. It's just that you can work out physically to it, that you have like a beat and a rhythm and you can move yourself, but you don't care about other people and there's no interaction, right? And this is what is trying to be achieved. And this is something I would try to change back.
Okay.
More personal, and if you ask me, kind of like 70s, what it was, people always talk about the 80s, but I was born in 62, and I've seen all those things that happened in the 60s.
Yeah.
There was the Beatles and other things, and there was the Who, there was like the what were they, the Kings, with You Really Got Me and stuff, and the Beatles with Helter Skelter. Then there was the Who, and there was God damn it, Elton John, right? What that guy did, and that was just like it was one person. It was a star, right? It was somebody representing a kind of music and expression, right? And you were listening to vinyl. You had tube stereo amps, with an amazing sound. And this is all going away, it's all getting compressed and diminished into nothing, right? Kind of like you put sugar in your tea, right?
Okay.
It's like this. Then the sugar tastes less and less like sugar, and it's getting bitter over the years, right? And then you're putting bitter stuff into your tea, and people never know that it was different before, yeah? Or they do new metal, or what was it there, in the Latin countries, it was called funk, right?
Funk.
What's called funk is not funk.
It's not
Funk is something entirely different.
Yes,
And
it's
then
true.
the people
Yes.
are made to know, okay, so funk is something electronic and sounds like this. No, it doesn't. Right? And so there's a continuous way of betrayal for the music listener or enjoyer or whatever, right? And they get to sense something different on these festivals where they go, right? And then they travel there with their families and they listen to the bands live on some huge stage with like lots of volume. And then they get like a different feel of that. And being together with like-minded people that's doing something and maybe they don't even know what it is, right? But that's what I would change back.
Oh, okay, okay. I think with all your tours for so many decades, you have know-how, and you can talk about something that other persons can't do. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because you travel.
You
travel.
see things in the world, you get to see different places, you get to see how things work, and
Exactly.
you can develop a suspicion about things, right?
Yes, and in the music business, well, you've been a witness of the explosions of different things. For example, the digital, the digital explosion, the streaming explosion, and the rise and fall of the CDs or everything.
CDs don't have to be bad, you know. I have that Beatles box over there, and somehow the George Martin and his son, you know, they managed to make the CD sound better than the vinyl albums. And I don't know how they did it. Yeah. And that's also a good sounding thing, right? I mean, they hardly sound different from the vinyl version because the mastering is very good, no?
Yes, I
The
think.
last time that the vinyl of Helloween sounded very different was, I think, Grab It Don't Come Easy, where there's the stark difference between the vinyl and the CD. And with those things that you've just shown, you know, they are very pretty similar. I made recordings of the Gambling with the Devil, and I compared the CD sound to the vinyl sound, and it was almost identical.
Wow. Wow. Okay, okay, okay. I don't know, but I'm not too into the streaming music. I don't like it. I don't think it's fair, the streaming music. You know, I'm 48 years
No.
old. I'm 48 years old. I'm still buying records, physical records,
Yeah.
and I can find a fair aspect in the streaming music because how can be fair that? Pay,
It's when banks, you know, when banks take over, you know, the libraries, the sound libraries from somewhere. I don't know from where they copied them or from what kind of CD material or who is collecting all the musical data in a compressed format. Now, with Apple Music, you have a different thing going. Suddenly they went like high resolution, right? And maybe 3D imaging. I don't know. I didn't check that yet, but I suppose it's a better idea to go than like the fucking streaming with less and less the resolution of the music, right? But nevertheless, if you wanted to take over, you know, whatever it is, like toilet paper production, right? Then it's the same company that's doing the toilet paper production as the music streaming. So there's no difference in between toilet paper and streaming or the people who get your trash.
yeah.
Because then it's all the same company, right? And they can kind of command what you're supposed to do over your day. Right?
Of course, and have a physical record is better because you can resell your album. If you need money, you can resell your record to your friends, and you get a money back and buy another record. That's a great thing. It's super intelligent to buy records than streaming, in my opinion. Because when you stop to pay the membership, buy. There's nothing. that was the reason of paying. It's true.
Everything is rented. Everything is rented.
Air,
You know, then
air.
You don't own your car because the car
Air.
is rented. Every week you have to go change your underpants at the store. Right? You get a new underpants. And there's a number on it.
Oh my God. Michael, any concerts on the way?
For next year, there's something booked and published, and I hope we can do it. I'm not
Europe.
a politician. I don't know what's going on.
I think it's that
And I
only
just
Europe.
hope it will happen. I hope it will somehow work.
In Europe. Only Europe.
I don't know. I didn't look at the dates. It's some dates, many, and that's seemingly Europe but I really didn't look. Yeah,
Well, I
but
hope to see
think
you
you're
here
right.
in Canada in the next year. It depends the government.
That that would have to happen. If the other things happen, then that would happen too. Then it's building up onto each other. It's going to be continued. Just like we're going wherever we can, whatever we can do, right? That's like our idea. We want to keep being the 7 guys we are, and we want to achieve as much as possible, right? Given the thing that the COVID will be at an end eventually, and hopefully we can do that next year. I really don't know. I hope so.
Yes, yes. Any last words in this interview?
I wanted to say thanks for the big support of the Canadian fans, and also of the Peruvian fans.
I keep it.
Without your help and without your heartfelt, sharing of our music, like going to your friends, did you listen to Helloween yet? You got to listen to this. We would be nowhere, and this is just because we've been doing something good, and you carried it on. And so it's getting bigger and bigger, and it's amazing.